Find the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.
Find a plan that goes with your flow. Get unlimited local talk, text, and data at the most affordable rate with Unlimited Flow Postpaid, only at Docomo Pacific.
Wendy's Guam is back with a great meal deal. Their 2 for $8 deal is the perfect way to satisfy both your hunger and your wallet. Mix, match, and choose any 2 from the Dave's Single, Spicy or Classic Chicken, and 10-piece crispy or spicy nuggets. That's right. Pick any 2 for just $8 only at Wendy's. Good done right.
Kandit News is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
Good afternoon, my dear friends. It is 3:20 p.m. on Saturday, February 22nd, 2025. Please pardon me. I'm very sick. These are my pajamas. I just got up to do work today. I'm going to go back to sleep after this. I went yesterday. I got tested for over at AMC for COVID and for the flu. I came out negative for both. So I have some sort of bacterial infection. Dr. Nguyen prescribed me a Z-Pack to get today only if my condition didn't improve. My condition didn't improve. So please pray for me that after some rest and lots of liquids and watching cable TV, I'll be back in tip-top shape with God's grace. Yesterday, as I was resting, my phone started to go off by people asking me, was I watching the public hearing? And I said, no, I'm sick. And it was the public hearing on Tina Munya Barnes's bill number 25-38. And I got the play-by-play from people, and then I started to watch it, and I couldn't believe what I was watching. So most of what people were sending me was, are you listening to Tello? Are you listening to Barnett? Are you listening to Therese talking smack about Kandit? And I thought, no, but I don't care. Talk smack all they want, If I remember when I was the communications director for Eddie Calvo, and back in those days, the standard of journalism, hands down, for the Western Pacific was the Pacific Daily News. And back then, the managing editor was my friend, David Crisostomo. And I remember complaining to David one day about coverage that we were getting from one of his reporters, and he said to me, if something along the lines of, if you're not happy about something that one of my reporters has written about you, then I can rest easy knowing that we've done our jobs. And that was an important lesson for me on the government side, which I've carried forward into this new career into journalism, is that our job, the reporter's job, is not to appease anybody in the government. To the contrary, our job is to dig, to expose, and to, in that way, build a better community for us. And the founding fathers of the Constitution knew this to be a glaring truth, that in pursuit of the truth, you could not trust the government to expose things. In fact, you had to have a fourth estate protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, made within 2 years of the establishment of the Constitution in 1789, ratified by the states according to how the Constitution is to be amended. It was such an free speech, and the freedom of the press has been such an important entanglement into the culture of American society from the beginning of the Republic, that anytime any stupid government official or someone in the private sector has said that the government should define what the media is and should regulate it, it has been vociferously crapped upon by the public, because the public understands that you cannot trust the government, and that if government officials complain about the media, then the media is probably doing something right. Because normally, a politician's interest, while they tell you all the nice things and become popular by telling you the things that they want, their sole interest is themselves. And so if Kandit has a bone to pick with Tello Taitigui because she is not explaining away in any proper way allegations that she stole a purse from a government agency, or if she's not responding to inquiries about a statement made against penalty of perjury in a court of law by a process server that he was assaulted by Tello Taitigui inside the Guam Congress building, and Chris Barnett gives some half-baked excuse about how they don't have the video footage anymore over at the Guam Congress building to show that it did or did not happen at the time specified by the process server in the complaint lodged at court, we're not going to lose any sleep that Tello Taitigui and Chris Barnett don't like Kandit. In fact, we're going to love that we did our jobs enough so that in a public hearing that turned into one where the prospect of regulating the media was actually entertained, drives us to get my ass out of bed while I'm nursing this bacterial infection to say something about this. This bill by Tina Munya Barnes, it's a good bill and it could be better. And I'll explain how it could be better at the end. So back in 1997, the legislature had the wisdom. I believe it was the 24th Guam Legislature. It was the first Republican legislature in 2 decades. Back then, there were 21 senators. That Republican-led legislature had the wisdom to improve the open government law, which was passed in the 1970s. And in that improvement of the open government law, they mandated that the government of Guam, whenever any government agency or government body was to have a meeting or some sort of a public event, they had to publish a notice of the meeting at least 5 days prior to the meeting, and a second notice 2 days prior to the meeting taking place. Legislatures since then have improved on that law by requiring a certain amount of information, like the agenda needs to be published. The agenda needs to include this thing, and the other thing. And over the years, things have been canceled in the government of Guam because agencies did not properly follow the open government law. Since that time, the internet has become readily accessible and available to everyone, except, of course, to those who don't know how to use it, which is a very small fraction of society, very small. And since then, the legislature also has enacted laws that require government agencies to host and to maintain a website. And on that website, there is to be particular information. Since then, and I remember this because I was the one who started this, in the Calvo administration, we started calendar.guam.gov. And the actual purpose of starting calendar.guam.gov was to eventually replace the contents of the current open government law with a mandate that said that all notices of meetings would be on this one regulated website that you can filter through. You can go to wherever you need to go. You can very easily access where government meetings were going to be and on what times and what dates, et cetera, et cetera. Now you have the ability to zoom in or to Adobe Connect into these meetings and to in ways that the laws would prescribe to participate in these meetings. There are new ways of accessing your government, right? And so I'll get to the real solution here at the end of this. But what Tina Munya Barnes' bill would do is bill number 25-38 is to update our laws to the times. It says that no longer would there be a requirement to, or a seeming requirement to publish notices in a newspaper of general circulation, meaning a print newspaper, but it would open it up to electronic editions, to digital information. So essentially, it wouldn't just be the Guam Daily Post where government agencies would be required to post notices. They could go with the Pacific Daily News, which doesn't no longer prints a newspaper. They could go with KOAM. Ideally, they could go with the radio stations and their websites. They could go with Kandit. They could go with Mariana's Business Journal, the Pacific Island Times, Guam Blog. I'm not sure if that's still around, but if that's still around and it does regular news content and regular editorial content, then it would qualify. And it says news licensed. And licensed in the bill just means that over at Reverend Tax, your business license says that you're a news organization. It's simple enough. So this bill expands ways for the public to receive its information on where and when government meetings are to be held. And so not only does it expand the options that the public has, it would, of course, drive down costs. Now, I want you to think about this. One of the news executives who testified at this hearing said that their digital edition full-page ad costs $1,200 for a one-day run. $1,200. You have no print costs. You have no paper costs. You have no ink cost. You have no physical distribution costs. $1,200. Now let's pretend that a government notice publication it was smaller than your full page. Your government ads are normally like a quarter page, an eighth of a page or something. Let's just say that the average cost is $200. And let's pretend that there are, across all three branches of the government, in every single agency, there are 1,000 notices that go out. And there are more than 1,000 notices that go out. But let's just but Tina Mooney Barnes were to become law, I'll tell you how much we would charge. I'll tell you how much we would bid. No more than $7 per ad. So if we were to publish 7,000 ads in a given year, all you'd be paying us is $7,000. And that's even if we would be interested in doing something like that. And you know why we would charge $7? Because we don't need to charge $1,200. We don't need to charge $200. It costs us almost nothing but our time and a little bit of effort to post that. Stand by. I'm getting a thing from Jacob Nakamura, who is an established veteran of all things wonderful. Oh, Jacob was saying that the microphone was breaking up. I'm sorry about that. Pardon me. And he said that it's okay now. So right off the bat, the competition, and I'm sure we're not the only ones who would be thinking of charging much less than is being charged right now. I'm sure we're not the only ones. I'm sure that there are other places that would be like, oh, we'll charge $12, we'll charge $20. And maybe there's even a place that would charge $1, right? Why is public policy subsidizing news operations? And more importantly, why are newsrooms and news executives bowing before public officials to demand that the status quo remain or regulations exist that would curtail participation in this to only 2 places so that they can make money? Why are vanguards of the truth, those entrusted by the Constitution and the people to be watching over the public officials, getting into bed with these public officials to drive their profits? That is 100% anathema to the existence of journalism in the United States of America. 100%. Self-interested, conflict of interest, special interest, exactly what the news media and journalists are supposed to be combating against, now at the table advocating for it. It's not just the money aspect of this and the amount of money that we, the taxpayers, are paying to settle with this antiquated law. This is also about the reputation and the credibility of news media and our ability to trust what is the truth. Because if the truth is for sale, then democracy is diminished. How do we trust the journalists to tell us the truth if they're in bed with the government paying them to survive? And I'm not saying that it's necessarily a bad thing to have government advertising, but when you're going to the legislature to drive your profits, and when you allow senators to decide who is what, and you ask senators, can you guys define what the news is so that we would be protected against these competitors? You have just torn up the Constitution in front of all of our faces. You have just surrendered your credibility, your reputation on this island to hold public officials accountable because you wanted to drive a profit for yourself. And as I thought about this, and as I thought about this lopsided, value lopsided advertising, I thought about funeral announcements. I thought about obituaries. And I'm sitting here wondering, maybe not so much print because there's an actual cost to print, right? But yeah, I mean, somewhat. You can't justify to me, charging a family in their darkest moments $2,000 for a full-page, full-color ad. That's not in any way justifiable to me. But in a digital edition, that costs you nothing in paper, ink, or distribution. And you're going to charge families thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars for a funeral announcement, for an obituary, in their darkest hours? Morally reprehensible. If part of the business of news media is to build up a community, the best way to beat them down is to bankrupt them during their darkest moments. How is the public supposed to trust the news media when it is clearly, for some, driven by profit and not the pursuit of truth? And you can't serve 2 masters, as the good book says. It's got to be one or the other, the truth or profit. We charge $0.00 to publish obituaries. Nothing, because it costs us nothing. It takes some time. Maybe there's a little bit of editing that needs to be done. Sometimes people give us the wrong one and want us to delete and like upload another one, and that's fine. It takes a little bit of time, but there ain't no way we are going to charge people during their darkest hours to publish something that costs us nothing to publish. Sorry, I'm congested. And I'm getting all worked up here. The worst thing, the absolute worst thing that was said in this hearing didn't come from the senators. I don't care what Talo Taidawi or Chris Barnett or Therese Terlahi have to say about us. And I'm glad that they don't like us, because it means that where everyone else is just kissing their asses because they're so popular, we're the ones doing our jobs to expose their political ambitions. I don't care about them. I don't care about any of the senators. I don't care about the governor, the lieutenant governor, anyone in public service. I don't give a rat's ass about. I hope everyone prospers. I hope everyone does what is right. I hope everyone abides by rules of ethics. I hope everyone is kind to each other. But in this job that we have to be protectors and watchdogs of the people's money and the people's trust, we have to be critical. And so when these senators asked news executives who were there at the hearing, should the government define what news media is in this bill? Should the government regulate news media? And their answer was yes. I couldn't believe what I was witnessing. Why don't you just give them your Apple ID passwords? Give them your phones. Give the senators your computers. Let them write the stories for you. Why don't you just give it up? Let them write the stories for you. They pay you a paycheck from the taxpayers through this government advertising, and we'll all call it a day and end democracy now. How could you guys do that? There was even a part where they were asking, well, would you, I think it was Senator Munya Barnes herself scrutinizing these. Imagine that. It was the government scrutinizing the media. But Senator Munya Barnes scrutinizing those newsrooms after they said that, asking, would you consider the Pacific Island Times a legitimate news organization? And I think the response was something like, yeah, but, they shouldn't be considered for this because, they only publish once a month. They have a website that is 24 hours. They can absolutely publish those notices. Don't tell me that the Marianas Business Journal or the radio talk shows or the Pacific Island Times or Kandit News do not provide news content and editorial content that is available on a daily basis on platforms that are available all the time. Don't tell me that the Patty Arroyo Show, which caters to thousands of viewers and listeners every weekday morning, does not provide adequate, if not better, news coverage and editorial and opinion content than the newspapers. It was really funny, the questioning of Kandit's legitimacy. And I'm watching on one screen of my computer what some of these organizations and the senators were saying. Well, on the other side of my computer, I'm looking at the number of views we have on each one of our video and regular printed editorials, our news content, versus what these other news organizations are able to drum up in the way of readership and viewership. And I'm thinking, maybe the reason that you guys need government subsidies so much is you can't do the math. Because the math and the numbers clearly show that there's a whole lot of people in Guam, the CNMI, the US mainland, and Japan who look to Kandit and these other news organizations. And I wish we would not see each other as competitors, but as brothers and sisters in a fight for justice and for the truth. The more the merrier, in our view. I don't like hearing when another news organization is suffering. I don't like hearing when reporters and editors are getting laid off. And maybe some of these executives need to take a hard look at themselves, that if they have to rely on government welfare, advertising dollars from the government in order to survive, their business model is wrong. We survive off of private advertising. And I'll tell you, not a single one of our advertisers has ever called us up to make any sort of comment whatsoever on any news content or editorial content, much less asking us to put something up or to take something down. But now I have to wonder, because I view other news media. I watch the Patty Arroyo show every weekday morning. I love content by Shane Healy, Nick Delgado, Joe Taitano, what's her name? Jolene Tovis, Destiny over at KOAM and her newscast. I mean, I over in the CNMI, Brad Rosala and Tomas Manglotnia. I like reading and watching all this other stuff, but now I have to wonder with some of these organizations, are you telling me the truth? Or is this being bastardized by some sort of profit? Because if you're willing to tell the legislature that the government should take a crap on the First Amendment of the Constitution and regulate the news, also that you can profit from something from the government, how can I trust you? I get it that some people are motivated by money. Okay, fine. But you don't have a role in journalism if you are. If money is your boss, if money is your goal, if money is your master, then the truth isn't. Because if money is your master, it means you would print something as the truth in order to profit from it. It means the truth means nothing to you but a paperback. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Please think about what I said. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was about to end the show. I forgot to give you the solution. The solution is very simple. You can pass Tina Munoz-Barnes' bill as it is. That's fine. That will improve the situation. It will bring down the costs tremendously. Like I said, if we were to participate in it, you'd take $200,000 a year and slash $193,000 from that and come up with a $7,000 payment instead of a $200,000 payment in advertising, as an example of cost savings. It would be tremendous cost savings for the government of Guam and the taxpayers of Guam. But here's the real solution. And it was something that Jacob Nakamura talked to me about yesterday, and something that Jordan Bukikosa, one of our viewers and readers, wrote to me, and with his permission, I provided it into today's editorial. Essentially, what both are saying and what should be done, and this Tina Munoz-Barnes or the committee, the Cristoanius committee, should, in markup, make these amendments to this bill. You don't need a middleman. The government of Guam has, for years, has had the tools to provide adequate public notice to the public through its websites. And I told you about calendar.guam.gov. I don't know if that's still around, but that can be the website where everything is filtered, everything is filtered. The government of Guam can provide notices on the internet on its own. Doesn't need the media. You don't need the news media. You don't need to pay anybody but whoever is going to work on this website for you to post government notices. And if you have a website that's created that puts everything in this easy to understand, easy to navigate through website, then you've done your job. You don't have to pay $200 an ad, $1,000 an ad. You don't have to enrich the newspapers or any news organization on this island. You don't have to use taxpayer money to subsidize the operations of journalism. Journalism should survive on market forces. Journalism should survive because the people trust the journalists to tell them the truth. And the best way to die a sad death in journalism is to sell yourself to the highest bidder, and especially if that highest bidder is the government of Guam. Shame on you. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. God bless you, and I love you all.
We got that dynamite. We got that dynamite.
Find the perfect ride for you today with the New Year New Ride sales event at Guam Auto Spot. Get behind the wheel of the 2024 Outlander Sport, starting at just $22,995 or only $156 per paycheck. Visit GuamAutospot.com or call 671-478-AUTO.